The first thing I ask is, what do you want from the call? Why are you here? What do you want? And that gives us an indication on and it's quite an interesting question because it's not one that I don't think you normally ask. What do you want from this? People expect you to tell them what they want. And I think that's half of the problem, is that actually we shouldn't be telling them what we think they want. We want to find out what they actually want.
This is the Stronger Business Together podcast, where business owners learn from each other. No theory, no gurus, just real journeys and real hurdles to overcome. Today, I'm joined by Austin Hilton Ball, the owner of Your Payroll Manager. Like every owner, he's in that middle of building, fixing, growing, and making something that really matters. And Austin is also a client on one of my roundtables. So, Austin, welcome. So, let's start with Act 1. In plain English, what does your business do?
In plain English, that's a very interesting one. So, we help accountants build better accountancy practices and ultimately help them grow their accountancy practices. Now, what we do in real terms is we are payroll outsourcers. So, we take on large portfolios of payroll for accountants, which gives them the time and the capacity to build better and stronger.
Excellent. So you're taking some of their pain away. So you've already mentioned accountants. Who do you love helping and what are they typically dealing with?
Well, we started the business back in 2018 and we didn't really have any direction. We knew payroll. That was pretty much it. We wanted to run payroll. And slowly we kind of developed our niche, which was managing payroll for accountants. And what we found is that they had a couple of pain points, either capacity, they simply couldn't manage the volume, skill, they couldn't recruit, or a combination of both. And ultimately, in the size of businesses we deal with, from kind of small owner-led and kind of single director up to kind of around maybe a leadership team of 4 or 5, they all have those same problems, and it essentially stops them from taking on the bigger work, stops them from growing, and that's what we aim to solve by what we do. And we offer a nice collaborative approach. So it's very much more of a collaborative consultative partnership as opposed to just a one and done, high volume process model.
Excellent. So I know from your story that, you've done a number of pivots and changes as you've been building your payroll manager. So let's go back to the beginning then. What was that original spark?
So I was working in another bureau kind of around 2014. Sorry, yeah, 2014. I saw that the people were getting lost from the process. It was becoming more about systems, more about volume, more about churning out pay slips. And ultimately that was affecting the clients. The clients wanted people to speak to, they wanted kind of real human contact. And that's what we built. We've got three kind of guiding principles as such to combat the issues that we saw, which were hire the right people, to make sure we've got people who are curious and they're really willing to help and they're driven to generally go that extra mile. And we also built what we call kind of pod payroll teams. So teams of 2 or 3 people that look after a subset of clients. And that means they can build that familiarity and ultimately they can deliver that kind of familiar, almost in-house service to the clients and really add value for money. And also which helps with, as we found, really helps with retention.
So that was 2. What was the third thing that...
Never outsource the job. So we know that a lot of our competitors outsource their outsourcing. Now, I find this principle very, very interesting. Why would you are an outsourcer. Why would you outsource the outsource? They also offshore. And I have nothing against offshoring in principle. However, if you really want to understand the mechanics, we know that having a high level point of contact, but that person who doesn't actually deliver on a daily basis, they can't get under the bonnet, they can't help you when things go wrong. And that's typically what happens with these kind of outsourcing models. So that's why we are committed to never outsourcing the outsourcing and really using those pod teams to deliver that familiarity and that quality.
Brilliant. So you're getting that real customer-centric approach, that real thinking about how you delight your customers as you're going along, because actually that's my next question. How do you delight them? So you've intimated there of that. So take us through that thinking.
So I think you can learn a lot from the data, so to speak. You can learn a lot from the queries, the way people do things, the way people send information in, the queries that pop up. And we've got 6 kind of guiding values that aren't just written on a wall. We actually live and breathe them every single day. And they are: share knowledge, be dependable, create wow moments, keep it human, our team are our family, and live custom curiously. And now how we implement these to make the client's journey better is for the team to report back to me every single week how they have delivered on one of these for clients. And ultimately what that leads to is it might be 1% tweaks, but ultimately things that we can feed back to the client to help their journey be simpler, help them save time, ultimately help them save money, help them become more stress free. And then we almost become that go-to. We also slightly think outside the box. So we don't just do payroll. We've got HR partners, we've got finance partners, we've got business coaches, we've got marketing partners. So if we see a client has a need, we'll try and plug that gap, because ultimately we want to be the go-to for that client, because building that relationship strengthens our relationship with them, and allows for a very longer, more prosperous relationship for all of us.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I really love that. I do enjoy working with you and seeing how you've been implementing these ideas and making it really work in a business. That's fantastic. So tell me about a customer that you're really proud of.
Probably our second client. So they are a accountancy practice who had some kind of big ambitions. We took them on from, I believe, around 15 payrolls. They've been with us for around 4 years, and they're now at over 100 plus. And these vary widely from kind of single director up to kind of 150 employees on a payroll. Now, we very much are a collaborative partner, and we do what we kind of what our values are meant to do there. So, we do consultancy with their clients. They give us free reign to be able to kind of add that value. And that relationship is one that we cherish, because we know that works. It allows us to it allows my team to deliver on that passion and kind of get that good feeling. It allows their clients to do more. So we are doing consultancy with them, like helping them support the time and attendance systems, helping their bigger clients, support them with kind of internal processes. So really, really, really making a massive difference. But that all starts with the right client who is, allowing you to, um, putting a lot of trust in you with their own clients. But we've proved ourselves over the years, and they're one of their quotes is that we've helped them grow their business. So doing just what we aim to do there.
Brilliant. Fantastic. I really love that. So, Austin, what does your business look like today in terms of size and shape?
So we went from, if we look at the kind of customer profile, so we are probably about 75% accountancy payroll, 25% standalone payroll. So our standalone clients are kind of hospitality, manufacturing, and care, whereas the accountancy side is a bit of everything. Now, when we first started all those years ago, our first client was £12.95 a month. They are still with us today. They pay a little bit more than £12.95 a month, because at the time, very naively, I said I'm going to take over the world at £12.95 a month. Turns out, when you start digging into your numbers, actually, you know what? You need a lot of those to make it work. So we are now doing deals in the 5K a month, 6K a month mark, which is a grand old achievement from that smaller client all those years ago. We are a team of 6 and growing. So we are currently recruiting for either 1 or 2 positions at the moment, when we're just working out what the next client influx looks like to fill that. But I'm hoping by the end of 2020, we'll hopefully be a team of 8, maybe 9.
Brilliant. Fantastic growth. Really impressive. Most important thing is leads, which then turn into sales. So how do you generate leads?
Well, the age-old question I know you and I have spoken about lots. So, as you know, because you and I met all those years ago through a lovely little networking group, B&I is where it all started for me. And that very much, one, gave the direction of the business, because made me realize we had to focus on something. We had to focus on some kind of niche. But also kind of honed in the sales skills, I suppose, and the marketing skills along the way. And we've tried so many different approaches. And what it always comes back to is relationships. Building those relationships with those leads once they're in, that is vital. And I think you have to be a people person, but not necessarily a salesperson to convert those clients. I think it is genuinely about listening and genuinely just being human. Going back to our value about keeping it human, just being a genuinely good egg, because you can tell when you're being sold to, and you could tell when someone genuinely wants to help. That's where we do that right. In terms of the incoming leads, we get a fair few web inquiries. We get lots of referrals from current clients and through networking. And we also launched a book about 4 months ago now, and we're getting a lot of inbound leads from that book, that's really nice to see. So kind of multiple funnels as such there. As you know, we have spent a lot of money on playing around with social media marketing. And I suppose my only thoughts on that is, we spent a lot to realize what we were doing wrong, but we had the money to spend. That does deliver for us, but maybe not as well as it should. But trial and error over the years, but ultimately it all comes down to being human and going out and talking to people, building those relationships.
Excellent. I've always liked that, this, your journey, your enthusiasm to try, and to fail and to learn and to grow, and you've developed a really clever marketing approach now that brings in leads. So yeah, fantastic. So Austin, what are you aiming for in the next 12 months for the business, and why?
That's an interesting one because I think it's changed. My view of this has changed as the years have gone on. I probably don't have a year that looks like what I thought it would the year before. I would like to do an extra, I want to say 200% in turnover over the next kind of 3 years, to kind of bring us up to a nice, healthy profit. Sorry, yeah, nice, healthy profit. If we could get to kind of, dare I say it, 800 to 800k turnover, that would be fantastic for me, and it would allow us to build an even more robust team than we built now. But I think beyond turnover, our kind of objectives are very much let's build a team, let's build on what we've got, and we've got a really, really strong team. But let's play to people's strengths. Let's maybe move them around in new roles, help kind of they understand the culture of the business. So let's work out what positions they can fill that they can help deliver the future of the business, and they can be my future leaders. And that obviously the growth plans as such in terms of the finances fall into that.
Yeah. Fantastic. And I know you've gone on a massive journey of understanding people and developing their skill sets and their capabilities. So that's fantastic to hear, Austin. So let's move on to Act 2 now, your journey. Okay. So, you've been in business now for many years. Describe some of the highs and lows for us.
So I suppose the highs really are finding our niche. Finding what we want to do, because I think it is so important to kind of to anchor down and be specific in what you want. And yes, that does go back to the networking roots, but it's so true. We could be a payroll provider for many, and we could cast our net really wide, or we could really niche down. We could niche down more. Yes, we do payroll for accountants, but we could niche down more and do payroll for accountants in I don't know, the hospitality sector. That could be our only niche, and it makes the pool smaller. But what it also does is means that we can market better. But I think finding that was one of the real highs that really helped us to focus, as well as the kind of clients we are taking on now, the caliber of clients. When I look back all those years ago, that was in my wildest dreams. I didn't think that was possible at the time. And I suppose in terms of the lows, it took us a couple of years to actually get going. So I was running this as a side hustle, but actually while working for somebody else for the first couple of years, and just finding my feet. While that's not a low as such, growth was very, very slow. Looking back, not because I didn't have the time, I definitely had the time, because I just didn't know. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was bedding myself in, and that took a little while. Just to think of more lows. It's been a pretty good journey, and I tried to. We all have lows, and I try to reframe them, because we need to learn from all of those. We need to learn from them. At the end of the day, it happens to all of us. No matter who you are, you will have a bad day, you will have a bad week, you will have a bad year, you will have a sleepless night, and that's okay. But it's reframing that and going, okay, what did I learn from that? One of those recently, I suppose, is looking for one day last week. I looked at it and went, this isn't achievable. What have you done? Now, the learning from that was to go, okay, well, let's put blocks in. So you only have a certain amount of meetings every day, so you can really deliver on that quality. Again, that was a high as such, learned from a low. So yeah, not too many lows, but the lows we have, we try where possible to rethink them positively.
Fantastic. And that leads right into my next question, really. Running a business at times just gets hard, it really is hard. So when it's got hard for you, what have you learned about yourself and your business?
So many of us have had COVID. Back in COVID times, maybe towards the end when we thought it was kind of going away, I had really bad COVID, and I've never left the business before, but it forced me. I had no control over that. And the team picked up. They got stuff done. They delivered in my absence. I think that's a real kind of powerful one for me, is realizing we have hired the right people and they have got your back.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So what decision probably changed the trajectory of your business?
Definitely, as I said, it took me a couple of years to kind of find the niche, and I think it was definitely that niche, that going into the accountancy kind of payroll industry as such, that actually changed the direction and made us. To kind of give you an idea of kind of volume, if we were to kind of if we were to get a large accountant to fill that same to fill that same volume of the standalone client, a client would probably have to be turning over. They probably have to have maybe 1,000 staff, 1,000 employees. Whereas with accountants, we get volume, but we also almost fill our marketing funnel because if they are going for growth, we benefit from that growth.
Excellent.
And yeah, that all started from that. That all started from that decision to niche down.
Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. You've talked about your people quite a lot. So what have you learned about growing people that maybe you wish you'd known earlier?
The old adage of hire slow, fire fast. I think there is a lot in that. Although I am still probably way too nice when it comes to making these decisions. But we have been burnt over the years. We have had staff turnover. We have let people go. And when I look back, that came down to that hiring process. Didn't really keep up with the needs of the business and what we wanted to deliver. I suppose what that taught me is that one, that hiring process needed to be more robust and kind of look at our values, look at what we wanted to deliver. Look, we wanted to not just that the people we were kind of recruiting could do the job, but actually they had those people skills. They had that drive to add value, to be customer curious. Once we got that was where we started to build those processes around that. And I think we've got a really, really strong team that deliver on all those values. They are all different. They are distinctly different. I get my team to do this profile so we can see their different traits. And we have very, very different types of people, but ultimately they all work towards that goal. And if we had a lot of D types, let's say, who are fairly, I don't want to say fiery, but they know what they want. They are very assertive. They will say what they want. If we had 60 types, we wouldn't be running a very good business at all, because everyone would be working against each other. Whereas trying to fill the all kind of four quadrants of that to make sure we've got a really robust team, it's been a game changer, and we are still working on that. We do have all of those quadrants filled, but we're very much still working on the best balance and the best mix. But yeah, everybody is different. That's the main thing that I've taken away over the years, and they need to be treated as such.
Lovely. And what's one process maybe that you've made sort of really visual to reduce the friction internally and deal with problems immediately?
So not so much a process, but maybe my approach to mistakes and errors. So we have something called the recipe for success tracker. So some people might call it an error log, but we call it the recipe for success tracker. And ultimately that is a more positive error log. So look, this is the problem. This is what happened.
Words are important.
But yeah, this is the problem. This is what happened. This is who found it. Was it the client? Was it us? This is how we remedied it. And this is what we're going to put in place so it doesn't happen again. And very much feeding back to the team that we are all human. And that doesn't excuse mistakes, but we are all human. We do make mistakes, but it's the next stage that happens that kind of defines us. How we react to that situation. Do we own it? How do we communicate that back to the client if it impacted the client? How do we change a process? Because from that recipe for success tracker, we also have something called the ideas car park, which is if you don't like a process, something's broken, put it in the ideas car park. All the team have access to this. Every quarter, we look through that and work out what needs to change. So very much, again, a collaborative approach, a bit of a democratic approach, maybe in some respects, which as a business owner is sometimes hard. Sometimes a hard thing to let go when you have the ideas. It's my business. I've done this for many, many years, but you have to trust your people. I have massive trust in them, and giving them that leeway, giving them that kind of autonomy really, really does. It's helped us get to where we are now. Again, that doesn't come without its challenges, mainly from my side to be able to let go. But once you let go of certain things, that's a win for me.
Excellent. Austin, that's really interesting. And I love that phrase that you've used, the customer success tracker, and that's what you're trying to do, improvement tracker. Brilliant. So what do you do to help the business remain focused on the right things and staying healthy even when it gets really busy?
Good question, because we do have very busy month-end peaks. I said people think payroll's just at the end of the month. It's not. We have weekly payrolls, 4 weekly payrolls, 2 weekly payrolls, monthly payrolls that pay on the 5th, the 10th, the 15th, the 30th, the 28th. So it is always busy, but there is definitely a bigger focus on the last week of the month. I think our business model, again, our pod structure model really helps because we try to build capacity in that way. So the team always have they do always have capacity. Now, it's probably more worthwhile talking about how our business is changing. We are moving one of the team up from a kind of a payroll manager role into more of a payroll operations role. And she will then be able to dip in and add capacity if more is needed at certain times. As it stands, I do still jump in if I need to. If it's busy, I will jump in and I will support. But the aim is that our pods are essentially self-sufficient. They are mini payroll teams that can hold their own.
Excellent. Yeah, and I've loved the way that you took a simple idea and have turned it into really practical use within your business. So yeah, those pods are amazing. Well done. So let's move on to Act 3, our hurdle. So what have we chosen as our discussion topic for today?
About inquiries and kind of price, people shopping around for price, putting out lots of quotes for little, maybe for little return.
Okay, so we get plenty of inquiries, but too many of them are what we call price shoppers, and all we're doing is quoting for little return. Okay, excellent. That's a great one, and we picked that from a listener's fed in one, but you resonated with you, so that helps us talk it through. So for your business, or maybe thinking about this other business, what do you think's happening today? What are the facts that we actually know?
So I suppose out there, in many industries, it is a challenging market. People want value for money. People do price shop. That's that. But you have to put in mechanisms to work out who is your client and what do they look like before you take those next steps of actually speaking to them and reaching out on a call.
Yeah. How many do you think you get a day, a week, a month, then are sort of price inquiries rather than genuine inquiries?
I'd say maybe 50% of our inquiries are around kind of price shoppers, but we built mechanisms to try and wean those out and get that, understand what their reason is for buying.
Yeah. And do you find that's worse at a specific sort of time or type of client? Is there any sort of trends or things you can see in that 50% number?
So I think kind of looking at our own business that don't understand why they're trying to do what they're trying to do. So in our case, why do they actually want to outsource their payroll? What is their actual pain point? Because if they don't understand the value of what their pain point is, then yeah, price is just price. But if you're to give you an example, a client recently came to us. They were paying £1.90 a payslip for their payroll. I can't run payroll for not £1.90 a payslip, and I wouldn't run payroll for £1.90 a payslip because it compromises the quality. All of their problems were around quality. They were getting errors. They weren't getting the quality. They weren't getting a good kind of turnaround time. So to me, it was trying to help them understand why they're here, what brought you to this point, and then almost pull on those levers to help them understand that actually, yeah, you are spending more money, but what we are going to do here is save you time, we're going to deliver better quality, and ultimately, you are not going to have these problems.
Yeah.
So you've got a good return on investment there.
But somebody's just looking for a price comparison because maybe they have to get 3 quotes because some businesses do these sort of strange things. If they're just turning up they just need a price, they're not interested. What have you tried already then? Because you've already intimated you've built some thinking around this. What have you tried already that is sort of showing some benefit for you?
So we put barriers in the way. So if somebody calls up and they want a price over the phone, I will not give a price over the phone. We will get them on a discovery call. Now, yes, that is a barrier. Some may say, well, why wouldn't you just quote them on the phone? Well, I can't sell to them. I can't help delve into their pain points as easily over the phone. So therefore, our barrier as such is to say, look, we'd love to delve into your problems, to really understand your business, to add value. Here's the booking link. Book a time with me, and we'll run through that together. Now, that is almost weaning out those clients that would be all about price. And I think for us, we also don't want clients that are all about price. We want clients that understand why they are outsourcing, and the benefits, and that's the kind of third stage that helps to do that.
So that's that first barrier, is to say, if you want a price, you have to come on a discovery call. Through the discovery call, you're then trying to build that relationship and understand their pain points, why they're struggling based on your experience and knowledge. So do you still give a price at the end of the discovery call, or is there something else beyond that? So you're still slowing
That
things down?
age-old question, and I will share that until the past maybe year, I was absolutely petrified of price. I would never mention price at the discovery call, and I realized that actually I was losing so many clients by not talking through price and then objection handling. And our discovery call is kind of the process it goes through is we would do the discovery at the start. So we would say, look, the first kind of 25 minutes will be just walking through your business. I may ask you some odd questions that you think, like your payroll, why are you asking me that? But things like looking into their HR, their systems, because that then helps us to kind of to refer in others that again adds that value in terms of literally adding the value to the client. And then we kind of walk through the proposal. So we get the proposal up on screen and we walk them through it step by step. So we show them how we work. We show them what they would get. We show them how the onboarding process looks and how easy that is. And then once we've kind of shown all that value, we then talk through the price. And my question there is, what do you think about that? One thing I'm kind of careful not to do is say, how do you feel about that? Because they are two distinct questions. Feelings and how you think are two very, very distinct questions. So, what do you think about that? And by having them on that call, you can see their body language. And they're either going to go, well, not quite sure, or yeah, that's great. Oh, great. Looks fantastic. So, what can we, can we talk next steps? If they're kind of thinking, oh, that's too expensive. Okay, well, why? Tell me about that. Explain to me, what your thoughts are. Why do you feel it's too expensive? And they will come up with things like, oh, well, I got it cheaper. I can get it cheaper from another provider. Okay, but what are you actually getting from that provider? What are they delivering for you? Because what I've picked up on my discovery is that, you are fed up of doing everything yourself. So this payroll provider that's going to that you're going to go through, are you actually going to be getting this off your plate? Or is it just going to be a way of you giving them all the information and then them essentially having an easy ride? And that's the comparatives that we could then try to make. Doesn't always work, but yeah, that's where we sit.
So somebody's thinking about getting 3 quotes. So even then, they've come on the discovery call. Is there anything you do at the beginning to try and sort of tease out these people? Are they time wasting for you? I mean, they've got to make that positive action anyway, booking time on your call for that. So that's a massive hurdle. Now, really, you can see how that works. Is there anything you do within that pre-qualifying when they first come on the call to think, right, this is it a time waster type call?
So the first question that I ask is, I'm literally getting my discovery call sheet up now. The first thing I ask is, what do you want from the call? Why are you here? What do you want? And that gives us an indication on kind of, and it's quite an interesting question because it's not one that I don't think you normally ask. What do you want from this? People expect you to kind of to tell them what they want, and I think that's half of the problem. Is that actually we shouldn't be telling them what we think they want. We want to find out what they actually want. And that question can open up those costing kind of areas whereby they say that they may literally turn around and say, I'm here because we are looking at 2 or 3 providers and I'm keen to get a price. Now, if at that point they mention price, that is then when we have to do a little bit more digging, because nothing is ever just price. I have worked with a sales coach, as you very well know, and to get over my aversion to mentioning kind of price, I'm now firmly in the belief that nothing is ever just price. There is always a lot more behind the price. And if you think about when you go out and buy a product at the supermarket, let's say, you probably greeted with 2 or 3 options. You're never going to go, I'm going to buy the most expensive one, I'm going to the cheapest one. Mostly you probably buy the one in the middle. But it's never about just price alone. It's about the quality. It's about the brand. It's about what it's going to do for you. And ultimately, it might all be washing up liquid, but you're going to be sold to one of those that kind of connects with you better than the other.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's the first thing. It is never just about the price.
Yeah, it's also that trust. Do I trust this person, what they've said? Do I trust this brand? Do I trust the product that I'm seeing in front of me? Yeah, absolutely.
Which comes back to those relationships that we talked about in the beginning.
Yeah.
And
Excellent.
really building that rapport.
So is there Is there anything else that you're thinking next that you could, give some further advice to our listener around? So you've talked about hurdle, you talked about that fantastic, great opening question. Is there anything else that maybe you're still experimenting with and playing to try and weed out those, time waster that just want a price?
Yeah. So we're working if we can kind of build in a step before the call. So whereby no, as they book that meeting, maybe they give us some more information about the business, so we can, if they don't give us enough information, if they don't fill the format at all, maybe that's an indication that actually it is, they are price hunting. But I suppose alongside that, know your market, know what the market are offering, know where you position yourself. It's fairly straightforward nowadays. Back in the when we first started, we did set up a dummy email address. We emailed around about 200 providers. We got their quotes. Many of them looked like an a la carte Christmas menu, which is how we kind of simplified our pricing structure. But what it allowed us to do is understand the market, understand what people were offering for what price. And then also the kind of the win there is if in these discovery calls you can say, oh, out of interest, who are we up against almost? And I did asked that very question last week, because if you don't ask, you don't get. You then have an idea of where you're benchmarking. And if you understand what kind of service they're delivering or benefits to their product, you can then you can sell where you win versus them, and that's I suppose a distinct difference than
Mm,
talking about how their product is rubbish. You are kind of you are selling your benefits over theirs as such. But yeah, getting to know your market helps with that, and we will be doing more of that in the coming year because the market's changed quite a lot over the past few years.
yeah, and there's a lot of discussion online in the sales community about this idea of a visual sales letter up front. So on the booking page, there's a video explaining some details, explaining why you may need that two little piece of information before they come to the first call. Again, because it's all trying to weed out those people that are not really after anything apart from a price, and those people that are be more interested. But also, they're building that little bit more of a relationship with you and your face. Agreed. Before they come on that call. So so again, there's even more pre-qualifying that you can do
Yeah.
around thinking of that. So brilliant. If we've got this in place, we've improved then our pre-qualifying both digitally and at the beginning of the call. What sort of success are you seeing in the reduction of the number of sort of, people just turning up wanting a quote or initially requesting just a quote?
Yeah, so I think to me, it's not necessarily a reduction in that happening, but more of how we handle that when that does happen. And so I wouldn't say that, the calls that we've taken on there have decreased as such, but it allows us to maybe handle the calls in a slightly different way, to ask different questions to make sure we are really showing we are adding that value. So almost give them what they weren't expecting. And, for them to leave that call and go, wow, maybe there is something more to why I'm doing this. Maybe it isn't just about the price. So you
Yeah.
almost kind of, you're coaching them, you're helping them on that journey. So I'd say definitely not a reduction, but more maybe a better conversion from those.
And what I like about your answer is we start off with this idea of, 50% are time wasters. But actually, the people that then turn up, even though they may still be wanting a price, they're not a time waster. They're now an opportunity. So you've turned it from what is a negative question to a positive question. How can I help this individual? How can I achieve better success for them? And this is then the price that we would do in order to help you achieve that, and that's what I like. So it's not a negative, they're time wasting. Other people will, but they just won't book. Then you can convert that next one by using these structures that you've talked about to do that. That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Austin. That's great.
Pleasure.
So let's go into our close and wrap up now. So what have you heard yourself say today that maybe surprised you?
But I'd say maybe less surprised me, but more kind of positivity I'm taking away is just looking back at our journey and where we are now and all the little increments we've put in to get here. I'm definitely not somebody that celebrates the wins personally myself as much as I should do. So looking back at what we've achieved and where we are, that's a real big win for me. Looking back all those years that we had that very small, tiny client, and yeah, we are where we are now. And that's through all of the processes, people, sales, delivery. Yeah, it's really, really exciting to see where we are.
Brilliant. And Austin, you've mentioned, I've said that you and I work together on our round table, but you mentioned that you're sales coach. I think the journey you've been on with her, I think we ought to just say thank you to her on this podcast and mention her name and the details. So please do say who she is and
Yes.
how people can reach to her.
No, definitely. So her name is Helen Tebay, and she is called the Sales Lady. She changed my life from somebody that thought he was selling and thought he was, thought I was doing an okay job, to really delving into the deep, dark depths of my soul and the why. Why am I scared to talk about price? Why am I scared to try and convert? And that goes so much further than just having a sales conversation. That kind of delves into you as a person. I would say to any business owner, whether it's you on your own, or whether you've got, a small team, speak to Helen, speak to you, come on a small round table. No, we haven't mentioned this directly. So far, but this round table is something I value when it comes around every single month. That trusted group of people, almost a little non-exec board to kind of talk freely about your problems, kind of be open and, share your vulnerabilities. As business owners, I don't think we are good enough at sharing our vulnerabilities. As men, I don't think we're good enough at sharing our vulnerabilities. So to be in that room and to be able to do that is a real game changer. So yeah, thank you to you as well for everything you've kind of delivered for us and me over the years. Because without you, I definitely wouldn't be sitting in this seat, looking back, being proud of what we've achieved.
Oh, Austin, thank you. It's an absolute pleasure working with you. Your spirit and tenacity to try and to experiment and to pick yourself up when you fail has been outstanding. So, Austin, finally, how can people get hold of you if they want to explore more of your business and your business journey?
So you can obviously visit the website, yourpayrollmanager.co.uk. You can add me on LinkedIn, Austin Hilton Ball, and you can drop me an email. Austin at yourpayrollmanager.co.uk. I do a coffee with Austin chat. If you are lucky, I very well may send you a very own tea bags and biscuits, and we can have a good chat and put the world to rights.
Awesome. Austin, thank you so much for a fantastic conversation today.
Cheers, Granger.
Thanks for spending your time with us today. We're on a mission to make business owners stronger together. If this conversation helped you, please like, comment and follow on whatever platform you're using. About 60% of our audience hasn't done yet, and these small actions will help us reach more business owners just like you. If you'd like to join the conversation as a guest, or if you have a hurdle question for us to tackle, reach out to us at info@strongerbusinesstogether.com. Now, go make it a really successful week, and we'll see you next time. Cheers!